Silas stood in the dark basement, holding a sharp knife. His arm was wrapped in bloody bandages. In front of him stood a twisted tree made of solid gold, pulsating with a red light. The tree whispered to him, a sound like rustling coins. "More," it demanded. "I need more." Silas looked at the knife, then looked up at the ceiling where his wife was sleeping. He was weeping, but his eyes were filled with greed. The land was dead. For 3 years, not a drop of rain had fallen. The soil was cracked like a broken plate, and the crops had turned to gray dust. Silas, a poor farmer, sat on his porch, staring at the barren fields. His stomach growled, echoing the emptiness of his barn. He and his wife, Martha, had boiled their last leather belt for soup yesterday. Hope was a luxury they could no longer afford. "We must leave, Silas," Martha said, her voice thin and weak. "There is nothing left here but death." But Silas was stubborn. He was born on this land, and he swore he would die on it. Wandering into the dried-up forest to search for roots or rats to eat, he stumbled upon something strange. In a crater of black, scorched earth, a single seed glowed with a faint, unnatural pulse. The seed was heavy, cold, and metallic. It didn't look like any plant he knew. It looked like a nugget of raw gold wrapped in dried veins. Driven by a desperate instinct, Silas took it home. He didn't tell Martha. He went into the dark, damp root cellar beneath the barn, dug a hole in the dirt floor, and buried the seed. "Grow," he whispered. "Save us." He watered it with the last of their precious water reserve. Days passed. Nothing happened. He brought manure. He brought sunlight reflected through a mirror. Still, the soil remained undisturbed. Silas was furious. "Useless thing," he screamed, slamming his fist against a rusty nail on the wall. Rip. The jagged metal tore his skin. A single drop of thick, dark red blood dripped from his hand and landed on the soil where the seed was buried. Hiss. The ground sizzled as if the blood were acid. Suddenly, the earth cracked open. A small, twisted sprout emerged. It wasn't green. It was a gleaming, polished gold. Silas gasped, forgetting the pain in his hand. The next morning, the sprout had grown into a sapling. Hanging from its tiny branch was a single leaf made of pure, solid gold. Silas plucked it with trembling fingers. He bit it. It was real gold. He rushed to town and sold the leaf. For the first time in years, he bought fresh meat, wine, and soft bread. He told Martha he found a stash of old coins. He lied. Silas returned to the cellar with a bucket of water, expecting more growth, but the tree had withered. Its golden luster was dull. It looked thirsty. He poured water, but the water just pooled on the surface. Then he remembered. The accident, the red liquid. With a shaking hand, he offered a part of his own vitality. He let it drip onto the roots. The reaction was instant. The tree shivered. The dull gold turned bright and shiny again. New branches shot out, twisting and curling like snakes. The tree didn't drink water. It drank life. Silas smiled, a greedy, twisted smile. "A small price for a fortune," he muttered, wrapping a rag around his hand. Weeks turned into months. The farm, once desolate, was now renovated. Silas wore velvet coats and Martha had new dresses. But Silas looked terrible. He was pale, gaunt, and always dizzy. He wore long sleeves to hide the dozens of cuts on his arms. He spent all his time in the cellar, praying, he told Martha. The tree was now as tall as a man. It required more than just a few drops now. It demanded a cup of blood every day to produce its golden fruit. Silas was weak. He could barely stand. One day he tried to give it water again, begging, "Please, no more blood." The tree's branches stiffened, turning sharp as needles, and the golden fruit turned into gray ash. "I need blood, but not mine," Silas realized. His eyes fell on their only remaining chicken. He took the bird to the cellar. The next day, the tree bore 3 large golden apples. Silas's greed grew faster than the tree. He bought more chickens, then pigs, then stray dogs. The cellar became a slaughterhouse, smelling of copper and death. The tree grew monstrous. Its bark wasn't just gold anymore, pulsated with red veins underneath like a living organ. It hummed a low, vibrating sound that only Silas could hear. "Feed me," it seemed to say. "Feed me, and I will give you the world." Silas was no longer its master. He was its servant. One night, Martha followed him. She stood at the top of the cellar stairs and saw the horror. The golden tree, glowing in the dark, surrounded by carcasses of animals. And her husband, looking like a skeleton, cutting the throat of a goat. "Silas," she screamed, "what is this devilry?" Silas spun around, his eyes wild. "It's our fortune, Martha. It's how we survive." Martha looked at the twisted tree with horror. "That thing is evil. It's eating us alive. Look at you, you're dying." She grabbed his arm to pull him away. "We are burning this down tonight." "No," Silas shoved her. "You don't understand. We can be kings." But the tree was listening. It sensed the commotion. It sensed fresh life. The tree's roots began to move, slithering across the dirt floor like golden serpents. The hum grew louder, deafening. The next morning, the animals were gone. Silas had no more livestock, but the tree was hungry. It had tasted so much, and now it wanted the ultimate sacrifice. It wouldn't produce a single speck of gold dust without a massive offering. Silas sat in the dark, shaking. He looked at his bandaged arms. He had nothing left to give, except... A dark thought took root in his mind, a thought planted by the tree. "One big sacrifice," the tree whispered in his mind. "Just one, and you will have a forest of gold." Silas looked up at the ceiling. Martha was upstairs. "She wants to burn it anyway," he justified to himself. "She is in the way of our future." He walked up the stairs, knife in hand. But as he reached the door, he caught his reflection in a mirror. He didn't see a rich man. He saw a monster. A ghoul sucked dry by greed. He dropped the knife. Clang. "What have I become?" he sobbed. "I sold my soul for metal." He ran back down to the cellar, grabbing an axe. "I will kill you," he screamed at the tree. "I will chop you down." He swung the axe. Thud. The blade hit the trunk, but it didn't cut wood. It sounded like hitting solid iron. The axe shattered. The tree seemed to laugh. Its branches lashed out, wrapping around Silas's waist and neck. They were warm and pulsating. They weren't wood. They were muscle and vein disguised as gold. "You fed me," The tree whispered, "Now, you are the meal." Silas screamed as the golden thorns pierced his skin. He didn't bleed onto the floor. The tree drank directly from his veins. As his life drained away, he saw the tree bloom more beautifully than ever before. Hundreds of golden fruits appeared, shining in the darkness. He died seeing the wealth he could never spend. Years later, a traveler found the abandoned farm. He broke into the cellar and gasped. In the center stood a magnificent statue made of pure gold. It shaped like a tree, but tangled in its roots was a skeleton plated in gold, its mouth open in an eternal scream. The traveler reached out to touch a golden leaf, and the skeleton's finger moved. Greed is not a sudden explosion. It is a quiet seed. It asks for small sacrifices at first, a little lie, a small compromise, a single drop of blood. You think you are the master, but in reality, you are slowly becoming the fertilizer for your own destruction. Be wary of the voice that whispers, "Just a little more." Silas destroyed his present life for a future he never got to enjoy. We sacrifice our health to make money, and then spend that money trying to buy back our health. It is a cycle of madness. Check your own mental basement today. Is there a tree drinking your life force? Cut it down before it's too late. True wealth is the peace of mind that allows you to sleep at night, not the gold that keeps you awake with worry. This was 100 years of advice.